Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Briefing for Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. Precipitation for the past 7 days is shown here on the left. It's been a pretty quiet week. We did have a little snowstorm over the northern Utah mountains, mainly western Wyoming, and then recently a low pressure system has brought some precip to southern Nevada. Over the past 30 days, percent of normal has been quite a bit below normal for most of the region. Very dry month of January. Snowfall for the past 72 hours is shown here. Most of this up here in northern Utah came over the weekend, and then further south more recently in the last day or two with the low pressure system passing across the southern Great Basin. Current snow info is shown here with inches of depth on the left, again showing some decent snow totals or snow depth right now over the central Idaho mountains. Western Wyoming is below normal and northern Utah as well. So there's snow out there, but not quite normal for the time of year. If we look at our snowpack values on the right here, we can see really western Idaho seeing those values just below average for the time of year, but pretty much everywhere else to the east and south is coming in at below normal, and across the southern Great Basin quite a bit below normal for the time of year. Even the Sierra Front is below normal by a pretty significant margin as well. So hopefully things change in the coming month or so. All right, let's look at the weather pattern for today. There's a low pressure system passing across the southwest U.S., which is going to continue to bring a little bit of precip to southern Utah today with that low moving across the area. Ventilation rates are quite low across the north, a little bit higher across the south, but still not great anywhere today. Transport winds are generally very light today, and mixing heights are really poor as well, mainly across the northern half of the basin. Mixing heights are a little bit better across the south. On Thursday, the low exits to the east. We'll see a little bit of a weak high pressure build in temporarily before another system moves in for the weekend. Ventilation rates still remaining poor today or Thursday. Transport winds on Thursday. We see some breezy conditions across the southern Utah, southern Nevada, but elsewhere winds should be fairly light. Mixing heights are still very low across the north and west. On Friday, things start to change. Trough moves into the Pacific Northwest, bringing some moisture into the northern and far western portions of the Great Basin. Still dry on the eastern half. Ventilation rates are still quite poor across most of the area before we see things improve a bit on Saturday. Transport winds begin to pick up on Friday across western portions of the area along the Sierra Front, western Idaho. Wind speeds will pick up, and then mixing heights begin to improve over the north and west, western Idaho, western Nevada on Friday as well. Values are still pretty low across Utah. The clearing index for the next couple of days in Utah shows pretty poor values across the north, but fair values across the higher elevations of the south. Over the next couple of days, all the values decrease on Friday before increasing again on Saturday. 3-day precip totals are shown here. Again, the precip over southern Utah is expected today as that low pressure moves across the area to the south, and then precip starts to move into the north beginning on Friday. To Idaho, western Wyoming, and starting to fill in into northern Utah really Friday night into Saturday. On Saturday, we'll see precipitation move into the northern portions of Nevada and Utah and remaining in place across Idaho. We do move into a pretty active weather pattern, active snow pattern, precipitation pattern, beginning Friday across the north and moving a little bit further south Saturday into the weekend and even into the first part of next week. So bringing some much needed precipitation to the northern portions of the Great Basin. So Sunday, that moisture stays in place for continued precipitation over Idaho and northern Nevada and northern Utah, western Wyoming. Ventilation rates still staying poor during the time period. And then Monday, precipitation continuing across the north, Idaho, Wyoming, northern Nevada, northern Utah, low ventilation rates. Finally, by Tuesday, we'll start to see the precipitation decreasing as some drier air begins to move back into the area and ventilation rates still staying poor. Precipitation accumulations for days 4 and 5 are shown here. This is Saturday through early Monday. Again, pretty decent precipitation totals for the central Idaho mountains, western Wyoming, northern Utah mountains, and then northern Nevada. Sierra Front we'll kind of see just how much they get out of that, as the bulk of the precipitation looks to remain over northern California. The extended forecast for February 5th through the 11th calls for below normal temperatures over the Pacific Northwest, Idaho, and western Nevada, with warmer temperatures over Utah. And for precipitation, it looks like we could stay in a little bit of a favorable pattern, with precipitation continuing to move into the Great Basin. So that is what we need for our February. This concludes today's briefing. Please check back on Friday for the latest updates.